Defense News. It's proudly sponsored by Navy Federal Credit Union. If you're a member of our nation's armed forces, the Department of Defense, or if your family is, we'd be proud to serve you too.
On this episode of Defense News Weekly, highlights from the inaugural MCON conference, a new event focused on veteran culture and healing. From our coverage, author Sebastian Younger sits down to talk about the struggles of returning home after war and ways vets can ease the transition. Plus, a former stealth jet mechanic takes off on a new trajectory, becoming a Las Vegas singer and performer. Hear how this veteran made the jump. And we subject the Military Times team of reporters to some bone-numbing antics to try out some options for alternative healing methods for vets. Come watch a Marine experience negative 120 degrees in a cryo chamber. No thank you. It's the latest in news and analysis from the Pentagon to the platoon in this episode of Defense News Weekly. Welcome back to Defense News Weekly. I'm Andrea Scott. Author Sebastian Younger has spent years reporting on war and the issues surrounding the experience of combat and coming home from duty. Writer of the books War, Freedom, and the center of the Afghanistan documentary Restrepo, Younger was on hand at the MCON conference in Las Vegas to talk about a new topic, returning home from service. He sat down with Military Times editor Sarah Sicard. Have a look.
Thank you for sitting down with us.
My pleasure.
So today you gave a little speech about coming home, which is an experience that's kind of synonymous with like homecoming, especially for people in the military. But that's usually like a happy circumstance, pomp and circumstance. How do you think that's sort of at odds with a lot of the experiences that veterans actually feel when they return home?
Well, I think there's the rush. I'm guessing, I'm not a veteran, right? I'm a journalist, but I've covered combat and veterans quite a lot. And I think, of course, there's the rush of seeing people you love who you haven't seen for a year or plus. But then when people settle into their daily lives, there's this really complicated comparison because this is the civilian world. Like, you're not called upon to function at the kind of high level that you are even in a support unit, much less a combat unit in the military. So I think veterans feel that they're a kind of a less, maybe a lesser version of themselves when they're back home, and they miss the sort of tribal connection of their unit, of the platoon, the company that they're in, and that all adds up to, and sometimes there's trauma. If they were in combat, there might be trauma, and that all adds up to someone who's psychologically at risk of depression and anxiety and all kinds of troubled states. So there's things you can do, but it is a problem. Like, it is something that has to be tackled.
Coming home is not necessarily, obviously, a veteran's experience. What do you think it is in particular about coming home that sort of can, have that very initial flood of emotion, I'm happy to be here, but then it sort of reverts into a state of beforeness that you were mentioning?
Right. Well, when people go away to do something difficult, whether it's the Peace Corps or a trip around the world, or of course combat, which is in some ways the ultimate hard thing, they mature very quickly, and they change, and they grow, and they get stronger, and all these things that we all know are good. And so then you come back, and I think particularly for young people who have had very difficult experiences overseas, you come back and you feel like, oh my God, this is a step backwards. This is the place where I was a child. I'm not a child anymore. I'm a grown man, a grown woman. Like, what? I'm back in, figuratively speaking, I'm back in my high school bedroom. Like, what? This isn't me. I think that's very disorienting, and I think people can have that even if they're in their 30s and 40s and coming home to a marriage with children. I think they can still kind of feel that way. The demands of combat and the benefits of combat and just being in a close, unified group are so enormous, and they play to such ancient human values of altruism and connection and courage, that they're very hard to give up. And civilian life in this country, because we live in a fairly affluent, safe society, doesn't require those things from us. So we feel underused, and no one likes to feel that way.
So, in addressing those feelings of, I guess purposelessness and lack of community, is the solution for, like, say, a veteran who comes home to try and, find that community with similar people and to sort of, try and like re-find a purpose by joining, a service organization or something like that? Is that really sort of the solution or the?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm trying to do off the top of my head, but I have like 5 or 6 things that I think help anyone who's coming home, including, of course, veterans. First of all, stop thinking that you're special. You are special. You had experiences that few of your peers had, but if you keep thinking about yourself as someone who's special and different and better, then you'll never reincorporate into the civilian world of just ordinary people. The point is to reincorporate into the society you fought for, and if you keep saying, no, but I'm better than them, I'm different, I'm better, then you're never going to do it. So stop thinking about yourself as special. You are, but stop it, right? Figure out a way to be useful, to be necessary. There's something very, very meaningful and sort of life-saving in providing help to others. And it doesn't matter what it is. That's one of the reasons that societies often experience great closeness during a crisis, like a war or a flood or a tornado or a hurricane. And then after things have gotten better, they sort of miss what should have been the worst days of their lives, except in different way they were the best days of their lives because everyone was working together. Everyone was sort of freed from the tyranny of their ego.
Right, that sense of purpose comes from an external rather than a need to find it internally.
Right. So when you come home, try to be of service. That will help. Try to gather in groups.
And in headlines from around the military and defense spaces, 5 special operations soldiers died in a Black Hawk helicopter crash in the Mediterranean Sea last week. The troops were conducting aerial refueling training when the aircraft experienced an in-flight emergency, resulting in the crash. It was not immediately clear whether the helicopter was training as part of routine operations in Europe, or if it was over the sea as part of a deterrent force that has arrived in the region in recent weeks. And later, we deep freeze a Marine veteran just to see what happens. Many veterans returning from service may find themselves looking for treatments to help them process trauma or stress. But not every therapy has to come out of a bottle or from a psychologist. Alternative therapies are a widening area of treatment for vets. And at MCon 2023, Military Times editor John Simpkins tried out one of the options on display.
All right, so I'm John Simpkins. We're here at MCon 2023, the inaugural military culture convention. And right now I'm here with Clinton DeYoung, and he's part of, as you can see, Morningstar, and they explore alternative treatment methods for veterans dealing with all manner of issues. And so Clinton, great to chat with you. And I wanted to see, first off, I mean, you could talk about what, you got MICO on your shirt. What goes into that? What is it? And how did you get into that?
Well, I'm the owner and CEO of Morningstar MICO. My company, it's the study of mycology, is what the study for growing psychedelic or functional mushrooms in the mushroom field. And we help veterans and the men and women of service actually grow the highest quality psychedelic mushrooms and functional mushrooms for mental and physical health. And we want to make sure we give our veterans the highest quality instead of having just subpar. We want to make sure everything's out there, and we want to help guide them to information that teaches them how to properly use the psychedelics so that they can better heal.
Yeah. No, I was talking to your wife a little bit earlier, and she was, obviously you had a personal journey that got you to this place, and a lot of veterans go through things, whether it's opioid use or any type of pain management, post-traumatic stress, that oftentimes doesn't work for us, right? So how did you get into this yourself, and what have the results been for you personally?
I've been in this field for over a decade now, and it was for my own healing, because everything else that we were doing through the VA, other companies, hospitals, the medication was making everything worse. And it basically just turned me into a drug addict and mentally unstable. I was actually national news in a bad way. Basically, my life was over, countless suicide attempts, until I finally started doing the right way to do psychedelics, and helping people go that route is my absolute direction. And with the medication that I was taking before, and then also going into drugs, losing my family, losing everything I had, and now I'm building everything back up thanks to psychedelics and the entheogenic treatment.
And we've seen obviously a lot of progress with psychedelics when it comes to treatment, whether it's, pairing it with psychological treatment from different centers. Like we talked about MAPS, the organization that has done a lot with pushing psychedelics as alternative treatment methods. As you see this start to take hold, what is your end goal with your company, and what do you hope to see for veterans, for people who have dealt with trauma?
My end goal, personally, is hopefully to grow the company so that we can actually go across the nation. I want to get large enough where I can do more studies, more science on to make it better for everyone out there. But the biggest goal is to make sure that everyone gets the healing they need without being blockaded in one direction by the law, or one direction because they don't know the knowledge. I want to make sure everyone does it safely. They're not just, hey, I heard psychedelics are going to save my life and I'm going to take a whole bunch of them, and then they get in their a worst case scenario where now they didn't actually know what was going to happen with their minds. So we need to make sure we concentrate, especially with veterans and police officers, first responders, those kind of things, who's gone through traumatic incidents, that they're not just doing it willy-nilly by themselves. They get the courses to get studies so they can know what they're going to expect. And then we believe that they should take treatment centers so they are being watched and being also guided through those kind of experiences, so that their safety is paramount, and everyone around them as well. And then once they get to that point where of full understanding, maybe 3 or 4 sessions down the road, they get their psychedelic card where they are able to self-medicate at home to keep the proper levels, because they've already gone through the courses that they know what's generally going to happen. With psychedelics, there's going to be a lot of different issues that we don't understand right now because of the science, but we're getting there. We're getting an area where the stigma that the things in the past, the laws or the lies, are making it a lot more efficient to understand the truth of how it can heal and why it heals and how we can actually proceed forward.
Fantastic. Well, I appreciate it, Clinton. Thank you for taking some time with us.
Next up, the path to becoming a successful singer doesn't often cut through stealth fighter jet maintenance. But that's just where Air Force veteran Marquise Simon started before making the move to the performing arts. Defense News' Daniel Woolfolk caught up with Simon at MCon to talk about how working on a flight line actually helped her find success on the stage.
Veterans from all over the United States have come to Las Vegas to attend the first ever MCon conference, and one of them is Marquise Simon. How are you?
I'm great, how are you?
What brought you out to MCon?
So I was actually attending MIC conference at Resort World, and I was sitting next to Waco, who's one of the organizers of this event, and he was the one who talked to me about it and invited me.
What's really interesting is what brought you to Vegas and what you're doing here these days, which is?
I am a full-time performer, and so what's funny is I actually worked when I was a government contractor. I was doing that up until April of this year, and then something just kind of pulled and tugged on me that I need to be pursuing my passion, which is music and performance. And so I quit in April, and in August of this year, I landed my first Vegas residency at House of Blues in Mandalay Bay.
And that's a big deal, to be not just a singer and to get gigs, but to have a regular gig, something to have every day. Did your military life prepare you to have any kind of background to be able to pull that off and just be able to do that day after day?
Absolutely. I mean, aside from what I already kind of learned growing up and being in music and a vocalist, I think one of the things is being in the military, when you do, especially doing the job that I did, I didn't feel there was everything that I could do outside of that. Like there was nothing that I couldn't do. You know, working long hours, dealing with potentially like difficult personalities, and just really having thick skin. You know, there were things that other people let get to them and like it just didn't get to me. It kind of rolled off my back. Resilience is the thing that they really hammer into you, especially, you know, in the military, having resiliency days. And for me, it was really nice to be able to go back to those days and the training that we got and instill that in my life now.
If somebody's getting out of the military and wanted to work in entertainment, what would you tell them?
I would say social media is going to be your best friend. And a lot of things that I've really learned to do and the tools that I've learned for the social media is using hashtags, finding other veterans who are content creating, because you'll be surprised at how there's overlapping in those areas. So if you're looking up singing or music or production or whatever it is, and you put like hashtag veteran or ex-military or whatever the case is, really networking and really using your platforms together can, you know, you get their insight, they get your insight, and now you've made a connection that can help you, you know, along the way and probably for future endeavors.
So those connections in the military world, how have they helped you? How have you used networking within the military, and how has that helped you get to where you've gotten so far?
So definitely, especially with my mom, she's also, she sings in Houston, you know, and so like meeting those people who were like in her unit or who know people like from the Astros or the Rockets, they'll say, oh my gosh, I know someone in Vegas who's like a sporting, you know, representative, and maybe, you know, send them your information. You can sing the anthem from them. So you just never know, like, they might have connections as far as places where I could sing or events that I can sing at, and then I sing the anthem at an event, and then someone's like, hey, I have an opportunity for you. And it really just, it's a snowball effect.
And you just got to the Mandalay Bay. You got to this residency. It might be a little bit premature to ask this, but what's next after that?
Really, it's just riding the wave. Maybe another residency. I like to act as well. I'm an actress as well, and so the first acting callback I actually ever got in LA was for a VA commercial, and so like just really using my military experience to really propel me forward into other avenues. So whether it's DJing, which I also do, and acting, and more performing.
Marquise Simon, thank you so much.
When we return, our personal finance expert is back with advice for vets looking for a new employer. Stay tuned. Welcome back. On this edition of Money Minute, Navy Federal Credit Union personal finance expert Jeanette Mack offers tips for vets on what to look for in a future employer.
It doesn't matter if you're leaving the military after only 4 years or 20. You're not just changing employers, you're changing your life. So it's important to find a career that enhances your learned military skills, challenges you, and lets you live the life you're looking for. Being in the military meant working in teams. Find companies that do just that. Some may even have employee resource groups where team members, even other veterans, share ideas, network, and create a sense of belonging. Also, look for companies that target veterans. They may have resources and partnerships that skill match or offer training. And of course, check for competitive benefits packages. Those who struggle with PTSD or military-related injuries should look for benefits that cover mental health services. As a veteran, your service may be over, but your value to the workforce can't be overstated. Take your talents to a company that values your experience and your life goals.
Thanks, Jeanette. We'll see you next week. To get more coverage of military and defense topics, scroll your way down to militarytimes.com as well as defensenews.com. And to be the most up-to-date mortarman in the platoon, sign up for our Early Bird Brief newsletter, compiled each morning to bring you the latest headlines. It's also an audio. Check out the podcast version out each weekday wherever you get your podcasts. And if social media is where you get your open source intelligence, follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and X, formerly known as Twitter. We also just fired up a brand new TikTok account that has lots of custom content, so go check that out. Do you have a funny military story to tell? Let's hear it in our voicemail. Leave us a message at 540-753-0567 and tell us something funny from basic training or the battlefield. Just please make sure to keep it under 1 minute. And stick around. After the break, we freeze a Marine and stick compression cuffs on a Military Times senior editor to look at the potential health benefits. Don't go away. Welcome back to Defense News Weekly. I'm Andrea Scott, and I'm glad I didn't get roped into this nonsense. Over at MCON, one of the displays featured on the floor was something called the Class A cryotherapy, a business that offers a range of treatments to help cure everything from stiff joints to hangovers. The big attraction? A cryotube that blasted willing participants with air down to negative 120 degrees Fahrenheit to help reset all kinds of systems in the body. Did it work? We subjected our senior editor to the fearsome temperatures to find out.
Veterans deal with a host of issues, and Class A cryotherapy is claiming to help a lot of them, including PTSD, pain, and even hangovers. Our own resident Marine veteran, John Simpkins, is getting ready to get in a cryogenic tank. Let's see what John's up to. John, what are you about to do?
I'm gonna get in that tube and hopefully just discover a lot about myself.
Okay, step over right here. Good. There you go. Okay, hand me your roll. All right, good.
What are you feeling, John?
Small and cold. Oh gosh. Just questioning a lot of life decisions and
106 below zero.
yeah.
How long does this take?
This is 3 minutes. 3 minutes cryotherapy. I do some of my best work in 3 minutes. That being said, talk about the cryo.
And that's a lifetime for John. Well, what's happening to John right now? What's happening to his physiologically, happening to his body that will benefit him?
This is great for like inflammation, arthritis, psoriasis, blood circulation, oxidized blood, tightening of skin, PTSD, hangovers, migraine, to boost your libido, and give you a good 5 to 7 hours of energy when you get out of here. So you'll sleep like a baby tonight.
So how often do people do this to get the benefits up?
A lot of people do it every day actually, but 2 to 3 times per week is suffice.
What kind of people do you see coming into it?
Boxers, the athletes, a lot of people, pain management, back pain, any pain in the body basically.
In the military community?
A lot of military as well, correct. Right now it's about 89 below zero, not 90.
My toes are cold. I'm getting a little bit of my toes. I'm freezing.
I just feel toxins being released from every orifice. All right.
Feeling good?
Yes, feeling not hungover.
Well, we'll check up with you in a few minutes. We're gonna go with Sarah now, who is apparently gonna you're gonna put on a
cryogenic bodysuit.
Well, let's see. What do we have here?
This is called rapid reboot compression. We have legs, hips, and arms. This is actually mainly for blood circulation.
Is this compression or does it is also cryotherapy?
It's not cryotherapy. It's not cryotherapy, but it is mainly compression. There's 4 chambers in here. They're all fill up and hold for about 10 to 12 seconds. It's going to release. So it's actually cut off your blood circulation for about 10 seconds and release. So then you get brand new blood circulation, no oxidized blood. It feels amazing.
It's like a giant blood pressure cuff but for your feet. So it's like inflating inside and it's like squeezing my feet, then my calves, and it's like working its way up. It feels like a balloon. I feel like it's like a weighted blanket for my feet.
Are you feeling hugged right now?
I am.
So what exactly is happening in these boots right now?
It's like a blood pressure cuff, and it's going to squeeze you, and once they all fill up, 1, 2, 3, 4, they hold, and then it releases. And so it basically just flushes out all the circulation in your ligaments and your legs and wherever we're treating. You can control the amount of pressure that's in there, but if you have any issues with circulation, if you have any issues with pain, if you're on your feet for a long time, it just gives you a fresh set of blood through your ligaments where you're refreshed and feeling great. Whether you just want to feel better or if you actually have an ailment of something that you're trying to treat, it's for everybody.
It's really weird when it goes down. I can like feel my heartbeat in like my kneecaps, and then it also feels like when you stand up after your like foot falls asleep, completely like numb and tingly, like static on a TV.
Are you going to be a regular now?
Yeah. come back to Vegas for regular treatments.
And John, you've been out of the chamber for what, about 5, 6, 7 minutes?
Yeah, about 5 minutes.
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling limber. I was saying earlier that, I mean, the amount of aches and pains just from my pre-existing back issues that I've had since the Marine Corps, legs, thighs, joints, like everything has been aching today especially. And I just spent 3 minutes in there and I got out and wanted to do like an Irish jig or something. Like I was feeling fantastic.
And for all of us, it's been an exhausting day on this super hard floor. You got your lower limbs done with the compression therapy. Been out for about 3 minutes. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling shiny and new. Honestly, I'm a girl who wears uncomfortable shoes almost everywhere I go, and now my feet feel great.
Repeat customers, or is this the last time?
No, I'm actually absolutely going to be a repeat customer.
Yes. Same.
All right, thank you. And for me, I was a little bit too much of a wimp. Maybe I'll give it a shot some other time. Thank you.
And that's all we have time for in this episode. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next week.